Hello and welcome to this Tuts Plus series Tumblr Theming 101. In this video we're going to have a look at something called variable transformations, and we're also going to have a look at the variable named custom CSS. Now, variable transformations allow you to change the data that is returned by a Tumblr variable. For instance, maybe you have some content coming back from a Tumblr variable that includes HTML markup, and for some reason you need it without, so you need it as a string or as plain text. Tumblr provide a couple of keywords that you can use to manipulate this into a format that you need. So let's quickly go to the documentation and then go to variable transformations. Now, Tumblr supports 5 variable transformations, and what you do is you prefix your variable with a keyword which will then convert that variable into a specific format. And so far we have plain text, JavaScript, JavaScript plain text, URL encoded, and RGB. Now, these are actually written a little differently. So you would write plain text as plain text, JavaScript as JS, JavaScript plain text as JS plain text, URL encoded as URL encoded, and then RGB as RGB. So to give you a quick example of what plain text, the keyword plain text will do to a variable, as you can see here in my description, I've included the HTML element paragraph, and inside that is hello. And if we use Firebug, as you can see, there is our paragraph element with the word inside hello. This description here is also used for the page title of our theme. And if we have a look at the page title of a theme, as you'll notice, there's no HTML. It's just text. So let's have a look what's going on. Now, this is something that's included in the Tumblr base. So let's go straight up to the title. So here's our block that will be used on the index page. And then here's our description variable. However, it's been prefixed with the keyword plain text. And as the documentation states, this will convert or remove any HTML entities. So what this will do is it'll strip out any HTML tags and it'll convert any entity such as like the dollar or pound sign to a HTML entity, so it's safe to display in the title. So that's how plain text works. You can also use plain text. Another case in point would be on a caption for a photo. Say you've got a custom lightbox installed on your theme, and when the user clicks on the image, it pops up in the lightbox, and you also want to display the caption. Now, ideally, you don't want that caption to display the HTML tags. You just want to display the string or the text. So you use plain text to remove them HTML tags. So that's plain text. The next one I want to give you a quick example of is the JavaScript and JavaScript plain text. So very quickly, let's pretend we've got some JavaScript in our theme, like so. Now, say I want to include a description. Now, usually or traditionally, you would wrap your string in quotes, like so. However, if we use the keywords, we can do this. So again, JS, and what this will do is this will essentially return like so. And then finally, the one after that is the JavaScript plain text. So again, to use that, we'll do JS plain text description, like so. What that will do, it was actually remove any HTML tags and convert any HTML symbols of that to entities. So we then have a string that is then safe to use in our JavaScript. So that's quite a nice one. The one after that is URL encoded. Now, URL encode is pretty handy if you need to share a permalink. What this will do is it will take your permalink and it will output the URL to an encoded string. So if, for instance, in the example here, you're using a third party to share the permalink of the article or the post onto their site, you can then URL encode your string so that it'll be parsed and read properly by the third party. So that's quite a handy one. Finally, we have the one I like to, I think is the most fun, RGB. Now, let's just quickly go up to our colors. Okay, so at the moment, so far we've only seen hex colors being used throughout the theme. However, you can use RGB and you can use RGBA. And you can use these quite easily once you get your head around it. So let's take a look at the highlight color. And I'm just going to use a div here. It's not going to make much difference. Like so. Now say I want the background of this div to be RGB. What I would do is I would write RGB, like so. However, at the moment I can't get RGB from the color picker on Tumblr. So what I need to do is I need to include my color, like so. Like that. If I then prefix this color, like so, I will actually get an RGB color back rather than the hex. And just to give you an example of what that will look like, the string or the code that would be returned there is 242.153.46. And the way this would look when it's returned from the server would be 242.153.46. So that's RGB. Now, maybe I want to use RGBA. Maybe I've got like a box shadow that isn't really solid, but I'm using the alpha channel to just to make it look more realistic, or I'm using the alpha channel to do some sort of transparent background. We can do that too. So again, RGBA, and again follow the same pattern. Like so, and then after that, put in the alpha value you want, like so, and then what you would get back is this. So that's pretty cool. However, you're going to say, well, different colors need different alpha channels. You know, some colors require more opacity, some require less opacity. Now, obviously, alpha and opacity aren't really the same, but it's the closest relation I can make to the two. That's fine. Let's combine some of our theme or appearance options. So let's do this. Background, RGBA. And again, we're going to use this color. And as I stated when we were creating the fonts, you can get really complex results if you start combining these appearance options. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use the text appearance option, and I'm going to do background alpha, like so. Now let's say, just for the sake of the demo, that the user set that background alpha to 0.8, like so. What is then returned, I know you can probably see it's coming, but is that, like that. So then we have full customizability, full customization of this RGB element. So if the user ever wanted to increase or decrease the alpha or change the color, they could do that with the color picker, and then they could do that with the text appearance option. So that's an example of using RGB and then combining it with a text appearance option. And that is variable transformations in a nutshell. Make sure it's here, it was code. Okay. Finally, for this last part of the video, what I want to look at is custom CSS. So let's imagine for some reason there is something in this theme that I would like to style, but I don't have access to it in the theme options or these appearance options here. So let's say I want to change this title color. Black isn't for me. I'm a green kind of guy. So what you would do is you'd use the custom CSS. Now let's have a look first at the variable. Now underneath the style of the theme, you may have noticed it throughout the other videos, there is also another style block, and inside there is a variable named custom CSS. Now what this does is this links to this area here. Now on the old dashboard or the old customized area even, it was a proper box, however it just seems to be a slab. What happens is anything I write in here appears here, and it therefore overrides any selectors previously written. So let's have a look at this title. So I want to change this color of this title. As I said, I'm a green kind of guy, so and I'm going to increase the font size while I'm at it. Done. It's that simple. Now, usually what happens is if I have people asking me to make a modification to one of my themes, I will send them back some CSS and just go paste it in the custom CSS. There is two reasons for this. One, if I create an update to my theme, any changes you make in here will disappear, gone. Any changes that you've added here remain. So that's one reason. Secondly, obviously, as I said, it's good to add theme options and it's good to add as many useful options as possible. However, you can make this overcomplicated. So think about it when you are creating your appearance options. Don't be too specific, but don't be too stingy as well. And also remember that if there isn't something in here, you can always override the CSS here. And again, just to give you an example of that, if I just refresh that now and have a look, in my head, here is my theme CSS, like so. And then here is the custom CSS, like so. Now, it's worth mentioning as well, Tumblr injects quite a lot of content into your theme for sharing, etc., etc. So don't be too put off by this. This is stuff that Tumblr has injected, and it uses it for its social side of things. And that pretty much wraps up everything for this video. You may be pleased to know that the next video I am planning to be the last. In the last video, we're going to quickly go through the theme and we're going to make sure that we've got everything we want in terms of this series. There will be one or two bonus videos afterwards that aren't essential to this series, but I'm going to add them because they cover a couple of things. One, adding the Twitter feed. Due to the API changes, things have changed, and I want to go quickly over how you can use Tumblr's authentication to your advantage and display your Twitter feed on your theme. The second is more than likely going to be to do with photo sets, and the third and final one will just be a little video on less and how we can use less to make CSS easier with our theme. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you have enjoyed the series so far, and I hope you will join me in the last video. Thank you very much.